Welcome to FPL Selection. Today we'll review the 10 matches from Game Week 3 to see which players caught the eye and have been added to the watch list. Hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks. So first up was Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. I think Fulham were very unlucky to lose this game. The foul given to disallow King's goal I think was nonsense, and the handball for the Chelsea penalty was very harsh, probably just about correct by the rules, but yeah, still very harsh, I think. Fulham also had a couple of great chances in the game. There was a really nice block by Caicedo. I think it was Castagna had the chance, and then another off the line from Pedro at the end. But they got the job done in the end. And, I think, lucky, but, they still got their goals when they needed to. Pedro again scoring from a set piece. Quite new for him. I don't think he's had many sort of header goals before, but looks like that's something they've been working on. With Delap out injured for a while, he's going to get very good minutes for the foreseeable future. And yeah, he's scoring the goals. So yeah, I think he's pretty much no-brainer at the moment. Also, Enzo seems to be, I think he's the second choice penalty taker now if Palmer's out. He's had back-to-back double-figure returns. And he just keeps arriving in the box. When the crosses come in from either side, he's always making those late runs into the box, sort of Lampard-esque. And, he keeps doing he was doing it a lot last season as well. He's got the potential to be a good pick at 6.6 million. I think if Palmer was sort of, ruled out for a longer period, you've got the penalties there as well as, the goal threat. He's on some of the set pieces as well. So, yeah, I think he's a wait and watch, but I think certainly if Palmer was to be ruled out for a longer period, then he'd definitely be in my thoughts, I think, in the near future. Tosin at 4.5, he got his DEFCON points this week, finished on an 8-pointer. I think if he keeps getting the majority of the games, that's going to be a nice way into the Chelsea defence. So we'll just have to wait and see how they rotate when the Champions League starts, because I think that's a bit of an unknown at the minute what they're going to do. And then from Fulham, I think at the moment there's not much there to choose from. And King has looked very lively in the opening 3 games. Took his goal really well. Obviously very unlucky to have it disallowed. I think he's the perfect 8th attacker at just 4.5 million. If you want to play with 3 forwards, he'd be a very nice, sort of first sub, second sub. Looks like he's going to keep playing for now, and he's certainly a talented player. So, yeah, I think he's a decent option as like I said, that sort of first, second sub. And United 3, Burnley 2. United made really hard work of this. They were well on top in the first half. Could have easily been sort of 2 or 3 goals in front. Boomer had a couple of good chances. He put one on a plate as well for Ahmad, who skied his shot. And yeah, as always with United, the level sort of dropped off in the second half. Sort of gave Burnley a couple of soft goals and just didn't really look like putting anything decent together as we did in the first half. Then we got the penalty at the end, which, I think was, it's one of them. If it goes against you, you'd think it's quite harsh, but he did pull his shirt there with Ahmad's run. It was a good run that he made in behind. So, yeah, I think it was a penalty. And obviously that's why we have Bruno Fernandes is there 90 plus minutes and, yeah, gets the penalty. I think Boomer has been the pick of the attackers, though, in the first 3 games. He's just getting sharper with each game, getting the minutes in his legs. He seems to be the one getting the, chat on the end of the chances as well. So he's got the pace to, make those runs in behind. And, he's in and around the box in the right places as well when the crosses are coming in. So, I think that, along with the fact that United have the best attack so far, I think it's the most expected goals, total shots and touches in the opposition box. They've also hit the woodwork 4 times. So it's obviously a small sample of 3 games, but I think there's definite improvements you can see there from last season. There's good signs that, the attack might be worth investing in for fantasy. So I'd say for me, Mbeumo is probably the number 1 pick at the moment, just ahead of Bruno Fernandes. But yeah, obviously it's early days yet. So yeah, I think with our fixtures, I would just hang fire for the moment and see how it plays out. The same stats, obviously, it helps Bruno's case. Hit 17 on the DEFCON in this match. So obviously added 2 points to his tally, along with a penalty and 2 bonus points. He had another really good effort from a corner. And it just sort of scuffed into the ground a touch. And he also tried the same when he was taking a corner and set Ahmad up for a nice volley that was really well saved. So, yeah, on another day, he could have walked away with another couple of assists and potentially another goal. So, I think that's why he's such a good asset, is, as a season-long pick, because he's got so many routes to points. It's whether it's an assist, a goal, he's going to get the DEFCON in a lot of games, especially playing in the centre of midfield. He's getting a lot more recoveries and tackles. So, yeah, I think he's a great asset for, long term. Looking at Burnley, I think Ekdal might now be the better pick as a 4 million defender. He's had higher numbers on the DEFCON than Steve. So I think if you're looking to wildcard anytime soon, he might be the 4 million Burnley defender to go for. The other one that caught the eye was Anthony. He scored in back-to-back games. He seems to be one getting the chances for Burnley. He's 5.5 million. There's obviously a few better choices you'd say at the moment. But if he does become the talisman for them, then there might be a point in the season where you're looking for a cheap midfielder, and yeah, he might be able to fill that position for you. And Spurs 0, Bournemouth 1. I think Bournemouth comfortably deserved to win this. They had not much of the possession of the game, but they created all of the chances. I think Spurs only had one shot on target in the entire game. It was just Bournemouth just relentless pressing, winning the ball back. And the movement, you see the movement that all of the attackers are making as they're, in the final third. It's just chaos at all times. And yeah, I think all of their attackers had moments in the game, whether that was, having shots on target or creating something for someone else. It does make it a little bit difficult to pick from, because I think there's going to be a fair bit of rotation as the season goes on, because they do have quite a few options. Evan Nielsen looked much better in this game, took his goal really well, kept making those runs in behind, the ones that are just difficult to stop. When the pass is timed really well, you're not going to stop it if he gets it right. And I think he would probably be my first pick if he's on penalties. But I'm assuming Kluivert will take them when he's up to speed after his injury and gets back in the 11. So I think probably a wait and see with their attack until we sort of see the first choice 11. But yeah, good signs there from Evan Nielsen that, he's back to his best. And then Semenyo obviously once again had chances in the game. Probably should have had at least one goal. He just keeps putting himself in the right places. But with him, it's just still a question of, can he be more consistent? Can he, get the right finish? Can he make the final passes? I've not seen enough yet to think he's worth 7.4 million. I think it's quite a lot for someone not on penalties, and he's not necessarily the main man for Bournemouth. But he keeps, on the eye test, he just looks great. He's always involved in something. So yeah, I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on him. And then from the defence, Senesi hit the DEFCON again. That's 3 games in a row now. And he's hitting high numbers as well. He's at 15, 14 and 14. So he's comfortably reaching the 10 needed. That was against, obviously Liverpool, a bottom half team in Wolves, and a top 8 side in Spurs. So he's looking good to hit those 2 points in every match, against every sort of type of opponent. He had a really nice assist in this game. Obviously not going to expect to see that very often, but he's also historically, he's a big threat from set pieces. So I think for me, he's probably the best 4.5 defender around at the moment. And, with having a sort of a floor of 4 points, and a decent defence with chance of goals from set pieces, I just think 4.5 million, that's a really nice price for, someone with those routes to points. Then from a Spurs point of view, I think the only sort of thing I would point out is Richarlison. He had a quiet game, as most of the Spurs team did, but he did get the 90 minutes. I think that's the first time in a while that he's, played a full match. And obviously with Solanke's injury problems, not sure how long he's going to be out, but it's going to be at least another few weeks. So there's a good chance Richarlison will start most of the next run of games. Could be, the next 6 decent fixtures. He might get most of those starting. So if you want a Spurs attacker, he'd probably be the one I'd go for. But again, it does come with a little bit of risk. Just have to see if there's any updates on Solanke's injuries. And obviously they've brought in Kolo Muani and Xavi Simons. So yeah, have to see how that turns out as well. And Sunderland 2, Brentford 1. It was a fairly close game, this one. Obviously with a late winner from Sunderland. Both teams had a penalty for holding in the box. Something we were told at the start of the season that the refs were going to, be closely looking at. So you could see that from those 2 penalties that, that's something that they are trying to crack down on. And then, obviously Sharda missed the penalty for Brentford. So you'd imagine Thiago's going to be back on the penalties. Not sure what happened there, but he'd already scored one. So I don't know why he gave it to Sharda. But yeah, I think he'll be back on it for certain after that miss. And then it looks like from what Enzo Lefebvre said after the game that Diarra is going to be the penalty taker for Sunderland. He just fancied this one and asked him for it. So potentially Diarra could be on penalties for them. So yeah, he could be the Sunderland option to look at. He's had a couple of chances come his way in the 3 games. And yeah, he's just a very lively, high energy player. 5.5, there's probably better options right now, but yeah, just one to monitor there if he does get the penalties for them. Alderete started again, hit the DEFCON. He looks like a real threat from set plays, so could be a nice 4 million enabler in the future. But I think we'll need to wait and see what happens with all the signings they've made. What's going to be the settled 11. Because, yeah, there's plenty of arguments that say he might not even be in the starting 11. So, yeah, I just have to see how that works out over the next few games. And from a Brentford point of view, Thiago, as I said earlier, probably on penalties now, you would think, with Sharda missing. And, yeah, not giving up anymore in the future. Took his header really well. And, yeah, I think for 6 million, if he's going to be the Brentford talisman, could be a set and forget option for, a good period. If you, need the budget to try and get all of the higher price midfielders and strikers. But like I said, we'll just have to see how Brentford look. A few more games just to see if the goals are going to be there. But yeah, potentially he's going to get a very big share of those goals anyway. Then, as I keep mentioning, Van den Berg, he's going to be on the list every week probably. DEFCON's for the 3rd week in a row. Another 4.5 million defender that's, probably, he's getting you 3 points a game, even if Brentford lose and concede 2 goals. So, that's much different than in the past when those type of defenders would only get you 1 point. So, still need to see more of Brentford just to judge their level. Obviously, they've had some bad and good and bad results. But yeah, he's permanently on my list anyway for that price. Yeah, could be a real bargain going forwards. Wolves 2, Everton 3. There was a lot of goals in the game and it was fairly even. But Everton just had a little more quality in the attack to get the job done. They certainly look a lot better going forwards this season. But they're also looking a lot more shaky at the back. I think they're 3rd worst for the expected goals against so far, which, is not really a typical stat you see, with against a Moyes team, or certainly Everton. So it'd be interesting to see if Moyes continues, playing this quite sort of attacking game or whether he decides to tighten things up. Either way, I think Grealish shouldn't be affected. He's been given the freedom to, do what he wants from the left-hand side there. And he's looking great, getting up to speed, getting the minutes in his legs. 4 assists in the first 2 starts. I think if the likes of Beto and Dye and Dewsbury Hall, if they keep, filling the box, getting in there, giving Grealish those targets, he's got the quality to pick them out. And yeah, I think there's going to be plenty there in terms of assists. I think it's 6.7 million. I'm not sure he's going to get enough assists that are going to, make him worth that price. He doesn't ever really look like he's going to score many goals. It's early days, one to watch, but yeah, I think it might be a little expensive. So we'll just have to see how that plays out, I think. Dewsbury Hall certainly had a much bigger impact in this game. He was making a lot of runs into the box. That was something he did well at Leicester when he scored I think he had 12 goals, 14 assists in the Championship season a couple of seasons back. And, with the likes of Grealish there to find his runs, could be a few returns. He's only 5 million. So, yeah, that's one to monitor definitely, because I think if you're going to get, sort of 1 in 3 returns, maybe some DEFCONs at some point, that could be a really nice price. And then the other option from Everton, I guess, is Ndai. Got himself another goal, and he got, getting in the box. When the ball's on the other side, he's making the runs into the box to get himself in there. And that's 2 weeks in a row he's done that now, which, is a big improvement for him on last season. He could be the pick of the attackers. He's on the penalties, we think. So, again, it's a case 6.5. Is it too much? One to monitor, I think. We've got to see which of the three look like the best. But I just think 6.5 might be too much. We'll have to see how it goes. But I think it more depends on Moyes and Everton as a whole, really. Do they continue to attack, or are they going to, try and stiffen up at the back a little bit? And that might sort of come at the expense of some attack. Then from Wolves' point of view, I think the only asset of any interest really is Strand Larsen. Obviously, he didn't play this game, but he did pull out of international duty with the same injuries, so I'll have to wait and see when he comes back. Wolves are playing the 3 promoted teams in the next 6 games, so if he does get back soon, he could be a nice cheap option to bring in sort of game week 5, and they've got Leeds at home. So I think, he's the only one I'd be interested in at the moment from them. Then Leeds 0, Newcastle 0. Very uneventful match. Yeah, it was very dull. Newcastle had most of the ball, created the better opportunities, but nothing really clear cut, just sort of long distance shots. Leeds had one decent chance in stoppage time, but Pope stopped it well. But it was our only shot on target in the whole game. Nothing really much to write home about. I think until Newcastle sort out their preferred attacking lineup, I'd be avoiding them for now. Gordon would generally be the pick, but obviously he's suspended. But the defence has been really good so far. I think they have the best expected goals against. And, that's come with away games at Villa and Leeds and a home game against Liverpool. So I'm a little bit surprised they aren't being talked up more. 2 clean sheets out of 3 as well. And, historically, they've had a very decent record under Howe when everyone's fit. I think that's the issue, is there's the Champions League season when they got everyone injured and, they were putting out sort of makeshift, half fit teams every week. When he has got a fully fit squad, they have been very good defensively. And they've got a very good run of fixtures up to game week 16. I think the only big teams they've got are Arsenal and City, and they're both at home. So, I think the fixtures are there, the historical, the team, the manager, the players, the clean sheet count from last season, it's all there. So I think I'd go for probably Pope or Livramento, because I think when the Champions League comes round, it's going to be difficult to know, who are going to be the preferred 11 in the league, in the Champions League, what's the rotations going to look like. Just don't know at the moment. So, if you're going for one of them now, I'd say Pope and Livramento are the ones that are going to get most of the minutes. And even they aren't 100% guaranteed. And then, if you want to get the DEFCONs as well, you'd go Dan Burn, but again, maybe a little bit more risky. And then just a general point, I think I mentioned DEFCONs a lot because obviously it's new and interesting, but I think we don't want to forget too much about clean sheets as well. I think, with the likes of Newcastle, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, when they're on a roll and they've got everything set up correctly, they can get you plenty of points from clean sheets. So even though there's no DEFCON potential for the likes of Livramento and obviously Pope being a goalkeeper, but just getting those 6 points, maybe 3 out of 5 games or something, that can soon add up from a good team. So, just need to not forget about that, as, the DEFCONs do look good. It's clean sheets from the good teams always, stacks up the points. And then from a Leeds point of view, it looks like they're lacking firepower this season. I was expecting they would bring in a few more attackers before the end of the transfer deadline. Calvert-Lewin had a decent 20 minutes when he came on. That was his debut in the league. He's obviously got the history. He can score goals in the Premier League if given the service, but I think we need to see him stay fit and put together a run of games, because it's been many years now since we've seen him sort of play, the majority of a season. But 5.5, one to keep an eye on, I think. But I'm yet to see where the creativity is going to come for Leeds, to be honest. But they have been decent defensively, 2 out of 2 clean sheets at home. Sitting mid-table for expected goals against. So, the fact that they got, a bit of a beating off of Arsenal, it's a decent start, I think. Goodmanson picked up the 3 bonus points in both the home games. So, he's obviously doing a lot right there to, get ahead of the rest. So, he might be a nice option at 4 million as a sort of bench enabler. In front of Rodon, who I'd been talking about previously. Then Brighton 2, City 1. City looked in control for the first hour or so, but after Brighton made the 4 changes on the hour, the game just completely flipped. Brighton were by far the better side. Haaland didn't really have a sniff at all. Most of the game really, other than his goal in the first half. And the City defence was so wide open. Just the way that Brighton were trying to counter on them with like so many runners. Just the gaps just were everywhere. It was really open and easy to cut through. Again with Brighton, it was just a mixture of players, that were involved. Obviously, it's good for them to have a lot of variety and unpredictability, but for fantasy, it's really difficult to pin down which one of them is the pick. Matoma got his chance, as he does every game. Rutter looked good when he came on. Minter was very lively again. He had a couple of good chances, one that he sort of created for himself. And then obviously Gruder took the goal really well for the winner. So I think for me at the moment, it would either be Rutter when he's fully fit, if he gets the starts, which he should do once he's up and running again, or Minter. I think Minter and Matoma is a bit of a toss-up. I think they're both going to get good minutes. They're going to get the chances. But I just think Minter's just slightly cheaper. It just probably sways it his way. But to be honest, I'd be lying if I didn't say it's a roll of the dice, I think, and until we see a little bit more. I certainly wouldn't go with either defences at the moment. I think neither have really shown, much solidity. It's, both are conceding goals. So I'd definitely stay away from both for now. City, I think Haaland's the obvious pick if you're planning to captain him regularly. And I'd say Reinders is, still decent value at 5.7, but we'd like to see a little bit more of that opening day, the way he was running into the box and, being a bit more involved. So, he's a wait and see, I think, at the moment, but, I'm certainly not completely cooled off on him yet anyway. Then Forest 0, West Ham 3. The game was fairly even. Both teams sort of not having many chances. But then when Somerville came on for the last 10 minutes, he really made the difference, just sort of running at the Forest defence. He got the assists for the first 2 goals as well. And it just looked like a real menace when he came on. It's a good performance considering he'd been out for a long time injured. I think the picks for West Ham is Paquetá, definitely. He's really emerging now for 5.9 million. He scored in the last 2, obviously on penalties. He hit the DEFCON threshold in the game, and he'd been close the previous week. He's made some good runs arriving in the box, to try and get in the end of things and score. He's going to play 90 every week, and he's obviously a very talented player. And I think now he's got all the off-field stuff out of the way, he can concentrate on playing, and I think you can see already that seems to be, his level's already gone up from last season. And then I think Somerville is worth keeping an eye on. He was very lively for those 10 minutes. He has just come back from a long-term injury, so I don't think his minutes are going to be that great for a while. But I just want to stick on the watch list and just see how he develops over the next few weeks. And from the West Ham defence, Diouf got another assist from a great cross. That's 2 in a row now. Obviously the clean sheet from a much improved West Ham performance. I said it the other week. I think Potter is a decent manager. I think we'll sort of forget how good he was at Brighton before the disaster at Chelsea, and they did have a decent defence. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do continue to improve, put together a run of good results and clean sheets. So I think Diouf could be a nice third or fourth defender at 4.5 million. If you prefer someone a bit more attacking. And Liverpool 1, Arsenal 0. It was basically a game decided by one fantastic goal. I don't think either side really did enough to say they deserved to win. As both had sort of, a few half chances during the game, but neither looked, at their very best and, super threatening. I think the Liverpool attackers would be hard to call now until we see how Isak fits in. Salah looked well off it again in this game. Some terrible touches. Ekitike had a goal disallowed, but other than that, he had no shots in the game. Vert's probably the best Everton goal, along with Gakpo. But I think buying new at this point is going to be difficult to call. If I was on a free hit, I'd probably go Salah and Ekitike, but I think that's a roll of the dice as well, to be honest. It's very difficult to judge a team, when you've played against Arsenal, because obviously they have very good defence. So, yeah, but I think it's still a wait and watch at the moment, and keep what you've got and wait to buy new, I think. In terms of defence, though, Van Dijk, definitely the Liverpool defender to go for. He didn't hit the DEFCON in this game, but he still got the 2 bonus with a clean sheet. So, yeah, he's just going to pick up points. And like I said before, if Liverpool start putting together a run of clean sheets, yeah, he's going to be in the bonus, in the DEFCON points as well. So, yeah, I think that's a no-brainer on the Liverpool defenders. For Arsenal, I think the attack, you just got to wait and see through the next few tough fixtures. Gyökeres doesn't really look fully up to speed yet, and we don't really have any certainty over the minutes for the likes of Eze, Madueke and Martinelli at the moment, especially with Champions League coming round. So, yeah, I'd sort of stay away for the moment and just see how they look over the next few games. And then from a defensive point of view, Saliba's out for sort of 3 to 4 weeks. It'll obviously be a big mess. They got some City and Newcastle to come. So it's not ideal for them. I mean, they've got some very good cover now, so you wouldn't be surprised if they were still very stubborn and didn't concede many. But I think if you're going to get an Arsenal defender, you would go Rayo or Gabriel, just play it safe. You've got the Champions League, rotations will come up soon as well. So, yeah, I think you can go for one of those two, but I wouldn't be so desperate for an Arsenal defender and, until the fixtures sort of look a bit better in game week 7. And then Villa 0, Palace 3. I think the scoreline makes it look a lot more comfortable than it was for Palace. Villa had plenty of efforts on goal, but only really the one big chance for Watkins, which, was a good save by Henderson, but yeah, you'd have thought Watkins would have put that one away. But Palace just took the chances when they came, and, it, like I said, made it look a little more comfortable than it was. I can't say I've really changed my opinion on any of the players from the two teams. I think Watkins is still the only pick I'd go for at Villa at the moment. They've got good fixtures for the next 4. He's the main source of goals for them. And, I can't believe that he won't score, in the next 4 games. I think, yeah, it's only going to go up for Villa then. They can't get any worse. So, but yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere else with them for now. I think with Palace, Mateta is obviously the pick of the attackers now with Sarr injured. He's on penalties. He's going to play most of the minutes. So I think he makes sense. And then from the defence, I think it's still Munoz and Lacroix I'd choose from. With where he's staying now, that, assuming everything we see from him suggests he's, a good professional. So I don't think he's going to, I think he'll just get on with it. He's obviously disappointed, but he'll get on with it. That'll make Palace, continue to be a very good defence. Munoz obviously has the attacking threat and open play. He actually hit the DEFCONs in this game as well. And Lacroix is a threat at set pieces. He got the assist for Sar's goal. It was a flick on from a throw-in, I think. He's actually at the DEFCON in all 3 games. But because FPL closes the game very soon after the last game of the week, they didn't account for Opta's updated stats later in the evening. So it meant he was stuck on 9 and didn't get the points that he would have got if they'd have updated a little bit later, which as an owner was a little bit frustrating. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.